Love our New York lands. What is it? So, Parks and Trails New York, New York State Parks, and DEC have been working together on ways to support all our public lands outside of I Love My Park Day, especially with a bigger focus on DEC lands and facilities. Not all DEC lands have been able to participate in I Love My Park Day in the past. So, and we really want to promote the idea that stewardship is more than a one-day event. So we have created this year two new fall Love Our New York Lands events. Fish and Wildlife Day, which is what we'll discuss a little bit more today, and Adirondack and Catskill Park Day. So in case you're not familiar with the Love Our New York Lands campaign, this was a campaign created by DEC and state parks in 2020 as a response to the increased wear and tear on our public lands across the state. There was an uptick in visitorship during the pandemic. That outdoors was the only place people could go. We saw a drastic uptick in visitorship at our public lands. So one of the primary goals of this campaign is to really encourage visitors to think of themselves as responsible for helping to protect these places. We know you are all out there doing the work to protect these spaces on the ground on a day-to-day basis. This campaign was designed to encourage everyone to chip in on that. So these lands are shared by everyone. We all need to take care of them. And with that, we wanted to build on the success of events like Canal Clean Sweep and I Love My Park Day to really carry that spirit of stewardship and volunteerism throughout the year, not just one day in May, one weekend in April, not just Earth Day. So together with the Canal Corp, DEC, New York State Parks, we're hosting these two events in the fall. The first is on September 7th, that's Adirondack and Catskills Day. We're going to focus a little bit more today on Fish and Wildlife Day, which is on September 28th. So that is a Saturday. This coincides with National Hunting and Fishing Day, and provides a great opportunity to show appreciation for wildlife conservation on all our state lands. So while we're focusing specifically on Fish and Wildlife Day, the other event, Adirondack and Catskills Day, all of the information that we share today will be applicable for that day as well. So if you have traditionally hosted an event on I Love My Park Day, but you feel your site would benefit from hosting another event on these additional days, that's great. If you have the capacity to do so, even better. We highly encourage it. So if you already got volunteers here, this is a good time you can plug them in again for the fall. So the hope is that adding these events will allow more sites to participate in these projects, and then also to expand our pool of volunteers throughout the year and get more people to care about and take care of our public lands. So some event objectives, as we mentioned, Fish and Wildlife Day really does complement the incredible programs, projects, activities that were hosted during I Love My Park Day. But really, this event is focusing specifically on wildlife conservation. Groups can help raise awareness, inspire community support, demonstrate positive impact these efforts have on preserving biodiversity and protecting natural habitats for future generations. Another objective, increase visibility of your sites. If you are doing projects on your land already that are tapped into wildlife conservation or stewardship, this is the opportunity to showcase those to a wider audience. And then it also gives volunteers another opportunity to participate. So, we have been pushing these events since the spring. Anyone who participated in I Love My Park Day or Canal Clean Sweep knows that there are fall events coming. This is the opportunity for them to plug in throughout the year as well, and then reach those folks we weren't able to reach with those first two events. So I do want to start by saying we recognize this event is brand new. We've already received a handful of questions about what types of projects would be considered eligible. So although we will be providing some examples of projects throughout this webinar and some tips for hosting successful projects, we want to stress, you know your site best. Any project that needs to be completed at your site that may benefit wildlife in any way can be considered eligible. If concerns about eligibility of a project are standing in the way of you considering hosting an event, please let us know. We don't want that to happen. There are many different ways that projects that you normally do that you need to complete at your site that you could use volunteers' help for could be eligible for this event. So let us know. We can help you find a way to tie that in. Hopefully this will inspire some ideas of projects that you can connect with. But with that, with that said, when you're designing your volunteer projects, there are a few, best practices, some tips to keep in mind. We do know the general public is eager to get involved. We had a significant number of volunteers participating in both Canal Clean Sweep and I Love My Park Day, which just shows that they want to keep continuing hosting, stewarding these lands. It is a good idea to have projects for all ages and abilities. A lot of times families want to come out together to, clean up. So make sure you have something available for, the younger folks as well, incorporating something like litter removal, trail maintenance, raking, plantings. Those are always good ideas. Litter cleanup can significantly improve habitat for wildlife. You remove harmful debris, restore natural environments. We do know that volunteers want to be put to work. People don't like to just show up and be like, oh, maybe you can garden, maybe you can do something. It's like, no, if you have a project you really need many hands on, put them to work. They do appreciate it. One thing to consider, you can use this time to do meaningful, visible projects. Volunteers, some of the most positive reviews we get from some of these events are when people have participated and they can see their work continue throughout the year. If they came and helped you install a structure, or they planted a garden that's new in the area and they are able to come back and see it bloom, that's the kind of work they love to see, because people volunteering usually come to your site more than just this one day, and they love to see the impact throughout the year. So that's one tip we can throw to you. And remember, projects can be all day long. If it can be an hour, it can be 2 hours. We recommend, a little bit of time so you actually get some work done. But if you have projects that, in different shifts that need to run all day, put people to work, you can do that. You could also consider small construction projects, pedestrian bridges, kiosks, sheds, bird blinds, bike racks, all of that. This year we had multiple sites construct birdhouses for I Love My Park Day. This is a great fit for Fish and Wildlife Day. Building birdhouses during the fall gives birds time to find and settle into these safe shelters before the colder winter months, which provides them with protection, encourages local wildlife to thrive year round. So this is a great project to incorporate. Here are some specific examples you can consider. Invasive species removal. We hear that this is a big need at parks and other sites across the state, and but there's not enough manpower. So this is a great project to take on when you do have volunteers at your disposal. Site managers and staff can teach volunteers how to identify and remove invasive species. And this is also crucial for wildlife because it helps protect those native plants and animals from being outcompeted or displaced by non-native species. Another idea, which we mentioned a little bit, is building bird or bat houses. We focused on bird, but you can also build bat houses. This provides cover for wildlife and creates a safe place for wildlife to raise their young. It can also provide visitors with a unique viewing experience as houses are occupied. Another idea is you could host a fishing lesson or demonstration. Now, I'll do a little clarifying of stewardship versus other projects that can be incorporated into this a little bit later, but don't write out the idea of incorporating an environmental or an educational component into these, or a recreation component. So you could host a fishing lesson or demonstration, especially if you have a water body nearby. You can focus on fishing. They can help with conservation, teach students about the impact of fishing on marine life, how to make fisheries more sustainable. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. If this is something you do at your site naturally, this could be a good fit for you or your site and your group. So other projects and activities. So the best part about this event is it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. So many of the activities you could do that better your site will also benefit wildlife that call your site home. We mentioned that before. Anything can really fit into this. So get creative. What does your park or site need, and how can you utilize volunteers to make it happen? If you are interested in hosting an event but don't have a stewardship component to go with it, that's okay. Well, we strongly encourage hosts to try to incorporate a stewardship component. These are stewardship events. We love to get people out and volunteering, but you're welcome to register an event for Fish and Wildlife Day that focuses more on wildlife education instead. This will ideally also help inspire visitors to become more involved, become stewards throughout the year, get youth involved in protecting wildlife for years to come. So with that, that's a lot of examples of activities. I'm going to take a minute to pause for questions, and then I will turn it over to Rebecca. Did I see something in the chat or in the Q&A? Okay, so Jessica asks, we run weekly stewardship programs on Saturdays, and New York State Parks run fishing events on Saturdays. Could we use these existing projects as part of this to try to get some more volunteers than usual? I'd say yes, that would be ideal. I mean, you would run it through, we'd encourage you to run it through our volunteer, our registration, event registration. So you'd have to fill out that form and have people sign up through that, or we can direct them directly to your site. I just would want to put it on the map so we could push it out there. But I think that's a great idea if you can get a lot more volunteers by, utilizing this day. Anybody else? No. All right, I will turn it over to Rebecca to talk through registration.
Thank you, Shayna. That was actually a great segue. As Shayna said, the registration process, there's some nuances to it. So if you have a database that's already kind of collecting that information, because there's standing events, activities occurring, maybe on the weekends, we can work with you. You just maybe indicate that in your registration form, that's the case. So we'll touch on the registration process a bit. I'll also talk about some of the resources and recommendations that we can offer to hosts. I will note that there is a QR code on a lot of our pages. It's right up here right now that can allow you to register an event literally as I'm speaking. If you do this, you have any questions in the process, you could throw it in the chat so you have access to me and Shayna in real life at the moment. But we'd love to see some more events roll in. That said, if you posted an I Love My Park Day event, you're going to be familiar with this registration process. We will be utilizing a system called Resport. This is founded nearly 20 years ago by a gentleman named Jeff Henderson, who's actually originally from the Finger Lakes region. We have sent out a few e-blasts, and you may have been contacted directly by an agency staff member. That includes the link to register. That includes some basic instructions on using the map and registering your site. The QR code, like I said, on the screen can be literally scanned right now. That'll take you right to the map. If there's a delay on your phone, don't be alarmed. I actually had it happen yesterday. I think it's just something with the software. There might be a slight delay. That said, this link is not public. We do not post this map. We do not post the registration form publicly anywhere. And this is really to just ensure that everybody who's registering is cleared to carry out an event on a state land. They're authorized to do so. If you haven't received the link and you're unable to scan right now, you can always email. We're using the I Love My Park Day email for simplicity, ilovemypark@ptny.org. So essentially the link, the registration link is going to take you to a map. Once you get to the map, you're going to left click and a button will pop up that says register this site. So registering the site, you'll have to provide some pretty basic information for volunteers. This will be displayed in a pop-up. After you submit your information through the registration form, you'll receive a confirmation email that we received it on our end. PTNY reviews those. If there's any questions, if there's maybe something that is unclear to us, we'll follow up with you directly to confirm before we then add it to our interactive map. It's a find your event map that will be shared out once volunteer registration is live next week. So a great thing about this registration system and why we've continued to use it is because it actually offers a real-time access to participant information. So once a volunteer registered to participate in your site, we can provide each host with a unique hyperlink that will open up an Excel spreadsheet that will give you access to that information. So anytime you click it, it'll download a new spreadsheet, and that'll account for anyone new that signed up to participate in your site, give you the basic information on the volunteer, name, phone number, email, etc. So we think this is a great system because then you don't have to follow up with us. You have all the information at your fingertips. It could be a good planning tool. That means you can be in touch with your volunteers as soon as possible. If you get a few roll in and you want to send them a welcome email and get them excited about the event, we highly encourage it. Do you have any reminders? As Shayna said, if you're going to break up projects throughout the day, maybe you want to create a system to be able to email folks and have them sign up to come at different times during the day. But this really puts you in charge of your volunteers and allows you to be in contact with them when you need to. It also kind of keeps the map pretty simple, in the pop-up. It's just the basic information. Where is the site? The location of the site. What generally will you expect volunteers to be doing? All of the other details can be put in an email, and then that's just sent to the folks that are actually coming to your site that day. So promotion. Promotion is huge, right? We're just weeks away, especially from that September 7th event. Here are just some pretty basic ways that we've been promoting and will continue to promote Fish and Wildlife Day and Adirondack and Catskills Day. We are dedicated to getting people to your site. We have a dedicated website, the Love Our New York Lands landing page, but we also have our statewide friends group, the Gateway, that we've been putting a lot of information on. There's the registration for volunteers will be live through that site as well. And we'll put a plug in our e-news. We'll put out information through our social media channels. We're fortunate that we received a lot of good photos from both Canal Clean Sweep and I Love My Park Day. So they're just great promotional tools. They really can showcase the great work that you're doing at your sites. You can share, repost all of these images, tag us. We'd be happy to share stuff from your site as well. So the more you give us, the more we can put out there, and we'd be happy to. So just share that information. That said, our partners are going to be doing the same. They have unique audiences as well, and they'll be sharing it out on their social media channels and any newsletters they have. We hope in the upcoming weeks to get out a press release. And a press release, it always sounds wonky, but it really does reach a lot of people. We hope that the governor's office will be in partnership on that press release, so that'll get even more eyes. But it really does signal to the kind of rest of the world. We're all entrenched in our environmental work, but it signals to everybody else that there's important things happening in our public lands. And we always get a lot of volunteers that sign up just from those press releases alone. And then finally, kind of beyond all of our collective promotion, our generous sponsors that are sponsors of all the Love Our New York Lands events, they'll also be sharing the opportunity with their audience. Okay, so next up, certainly not, I was going to say last but not least, the resources for organizers. So the Department of Environmental Conservation has kindly updated so many of the resources that we use for I Love My Park Day and made them specific for Fish and Wildlife Day and Adirondack and Catskill Park Day. So I can't thank them enough. But again, similar to a lot of this information, some of these resources will be familiar to you. We have all these resources available on our Love Our New York Lands landing page. We can share resources, updates about these events through the Friends Group Gateway that I just mentioned. If you're not a member and you want to become a member, we highly encourage it. You can connect with other Friends groups. Maybe you know of another group that has a similar mission, similar activities, programming, etc. You can share ideas there. So really, it's a wonderful platform. Get in touch with us if you want to sign up as a member. But PTMY certainly has been hard kind of getting new resources up to date. The Gateway has a whole resource library of really cool manuals and pamphlets that we found, volunteer recruitment, et cetera, board recruitment. It's there. You just have to dig through a little bit. But that said, if this is your first time signing or participating in one of these events, we do have an organizer's manual. While it's specific to I Love My Park Day, as with all of this, a lot of the ideas are transferable. A lot of the content can be edited in such a way that makes sense for your purposes. That could be top tips, templates for sponsors, thank yous, etc. We have checklists on there. So it really runs the gamut. But take a peek, see what's there. And as always, if you have something that you've been using at your site for your events that you think is especially helpful, share it with us. We'd love to see it. If you find it useful, I'm sure another group will. We'd be happy to put it up on the Gateway so others have access to it. But the gateway really is kind of a shared resource that we kind of pool together all those resources in that one spot. Let's see. Okay, on to, so we covered host registration. That's the on your end, really. Volunteer registration. So obviously this is a volunteer registration is for anybody that wants to participate in these events. We plan on opening up volunteer registration next week. That said, get your event registered as soon as possible. Submit a form, get as much information as you can. Even if you don't have all of the details worked out right now, at least get your listing on the map and any information that you can. That way, when we open up volunteer registration, when folks look at the map, they see that something's happening near them, they're available that day, they're going to sign up to participate. You can update, you can shoot me and Shayna over an email and say, hey, I just need to change this detail. We're happy to work with you, but just get your site registered. It'll be hosted through the same platform, Resport. It's pretty user friendly. We'll display the map, and then it'll just be as simple as kind of clicking on the icon at your site. That said, the registration process will require that all volunteers sign a volunteer service agreement and a photo release. So these forms were created by DEC and state parks. They really kind of take that pressure off of you to collect that kind of information, get those necessary sign-offs. But we do encourage you to maybe print a copy of these forms, again, available online. And then if there's a volunteer that's a kind of a walk-in, didn't sign up online, they can read it. Few things just to highlight, the kind of real-time access to volunteer information. I mentioned that earlier. We haven't yet sent that link, but you will receive it once your event has been added to the map and approved. Group registration, unfortunately, we're not able to accommodate. We do need everybody to fill out an individual waiver. And so we haven't set up the system so that groups can register. Everybody, including minors, will have to register separately. We set up the registration system for hosts so that you can indicate the max number that you can accommodate at your site, which is really important. So if you're hosting some sort of educational demonstration in a classroom, and there's only limited seats and no standing room, indicate that number in your form so we can close the registration for your site if you hit that capacity. This might create a little more work for bigger groups to kind of think about these things, but overall, we hope it's less work in the end. All right, Shane, I know there's a few slides on volunteer registration. So the volunteers will when volunteers go to register, they're going to navigate to the section on our website, the Love Our New York Land site. They'll be met with 2 different maps for both events, so it won't be confusing if there's folks on here that are specifically interested in Adirondack and Catskill Park Day. They'll be able to look at both maps and identify which one they'll want to participate in. Volunteers will also be able to select, the event and see the projects and kind of that overall description. But they won't be able to select which project they want to participate in. So again, that goes back to the communication piece of communicating with your volunteers in real time and letting them know about kind of the structure of the day. Just to wrap up volunteer registration, reiterate those key points. 1, all hosts will receive that link, that URL that will give you real-time access to your volunteers. All volunteers will need to register individually. If you get emails from like a scout group, a troop, that really need and want a group registration process, again, send them to me and Shannon. We can explain kind of why we have it set up in such a way. And lastly, registration for your event will close when it reaches that designated maximum capacity. We can always reopen it if you want to open your numbers, but after it hits that threshold, it will be closed. Beyond that, we're going to keep it open. We'll let volunteers roll in, up to the last hour. So, Friday or the September the 6th and then September the 27th. So just continue to check your URL for any updated numbers, but we will keep volunteer registration kind of open until then. All right, so I wanted to pause just to see if there were any questions specifically about, volunteer process and things. Okay, doesn't seem like it. That's not to say that you can't throw one in if you have a question that pops up. Um, so, tips for success. We always say that good communication and organization is so important to make your day run smoothly, to not create any unnecessary stress. So, providing advance information is highly recommended. Communicate with your volunteers, let them know what to expect. A lot of people want to know if there's going to be a rain date. If you know what they should wear, footwear is important. So more information is better. They like hearing from you and anticipating what the day will look like. A huge thing is that you have to kind of consider that some of these people have never been to your park or site before. So you're given the option to provide like an address. You know, it can be a physical address, which we highly recommend in instances where you're at a site, but then you're going to meet at a gazebo. More information, the better. Have people not be kind of stumbling to find exactly where you're meeting them. Um, we have templates for directional signage. So if you wanted to print out, you know, things that you can put on a piece of paper and a yard sign in advance, you can direct volunteers to where you're meeting. That's even better. That said, you should probably have somebody that's kind of just dedicated to directing and leading volunteers. If you have a registration table, any sort of project information, this is just great for somebody to kind of man and make sure that that piece of it is taken care of, that everyone's being greeted. We would definitely recommend some sort of short welcome or in orientation welcome. You know, we think when you can congregate the group in one area and give an overview of your organization, your friends group, your site, you know, it just provides a little bit more context. It sets everybody up for the day. And then again, a lot of this information will stay with them. Maybe they'll come back and they'll want to participate in a future event. So definitely something that kind of groups everyone in at the beginning of the day is recommended. Shayna mentioned this, that everyone wants to be busy, keep them busy, give them things to do. What do you need at your site? Put everybody to work. Supplies, tools, anything like that, make sure that's kind of ready before people show up. Have them put off to the side, labeled, whatever you need to do, but just make it easy to kind of hand out. That said, maybe having some team leaders, project leaders. If you have numerous things going on at your site, it might be advantageous to kind of assign who's doing what. But again, a lot of these tips, tricks, they're on the screen here. We have an event planning checklist that you can check out as well. But these are just a few high-level overviews. These events, I Love My Park Day, the Fish and Wildlife Day, Adirondack Catskill Park Day, they really can help you advance some of your organizational priorities and objectives. So it could be a community building or a community relationship building process. Are you reaching out to local sponsors? You can share information about your friends group or what's happening at your site, along with information about the event, why it's tied directly to your mission, how it benefits your site, the wildlife, visitors, and as well. But you can also kind of ask yourself some key questions. How, you know, are you looking for more board members? Do you have like a need for sponsors? Do you have an upcoming program or event where you're going to need volunteers to come back in a couple of weeks? So having the materials available to do this kind of relationship building and leave a lasting impression on anyone that comes to your site for this day. That said, this event is incredibly focused. You know, it has a direct purpose. And so I think that this concept will resonate with a lot of people. And so you might find that if you're doing something similar in 2025, they're going to come back. So you just need to establish that relationship, make those connections. Obviously, you'll have the contact information from the electronic database. And then anyone else that comes on site, you know, keep that information, reach back out to them, invite them to future opportunities. You need to kind of consider a lot of these people as long-term volunteers. They can be members, they can be donors. So how are you engaging with the volunteers that come to your event? Again, what do you have upcoming that you can pitch to them? I know at PTNY, we're always thinking ahead of when we have this audience, what can we tell them about that's coming down the pike, just as another reminder. If you're hosting a friends raiser or even just an upcoming meeting, an informational meeting, these are things that people want to know about. And then, you know, promotional strategies. We all need to try new things, see what works. Some of it will, some of it won't. I know we've used targeted social media ads. You can spend as much or as less as you need. You know, your budget, you can set your budget. You can hang up flyers if you have the ability to print flyers and hang it up in a coffee shop. This might attract somebody new that you wouldn't have attracted otherwise. Take note of all these strategies, you know, what's working, what's not, and then it'll inform hopefully future events. And then, you know, just to reiterate that you will have all of the information on who's attending your event that signs up online, and then keeping track of anyone that comes to the day of. So you can promote anything you want to this audience, you know, after the fact. So keep this information in a safe space.
Yes. And Rebecca, I just want to add to that because we usually we usually have more friends groups on the call that are going to host events. I know a lot of the folks on the call here are your staff members who are working for a site. I want to say this can be really useful for you too. If you find your site could really use an active friends group and like a core of volunteers, this could be a good opportunity for you. I know you're stretched and you have your work cut out for you too, keeping your site in tip-top shape and making sure, you just keep balls rolling day to day. But if this could be a good opportunity to maybe get something rolling at your site, get a friends group started, find people, get them engaged, and have them take off and help you with your work. So this isn't just a call for friends groups, but if you're looking to create one, this could be very useful time to do that too. Just wanted to plug that while I have you guys here.
Thanks, Shayna. Yeah, that's huge. That's a great point. So before we wrap up, you know, just the kind of the last next steps, and the biggest being register your event. We want to showcase as many projects and activities and programs that are happening before we launch volunteer registration next week. So get your site registered, reach out to, you know, if you're a friends group, reach out to your site manager and coordinate. If you are the site manager, you are the agency staff on hand, obviously. You know, you can certainly reach out to us and run some things by us, but get your event registered. Like I said, volunteer registration will open up around August 8th is kind of our tentative date so far. We will be sending out regular communications, especially to the hosts that register. You'll see your events being added to the map over the next couple of days. And then if you do have any questions, just reach out to us at ilovemypark@ptny.org. We'll be happy to chat. And final wrap up, you know, final questions, thoughts, anything else you'd like to add or share. But we really do thank you for taking your lunch hour to hang out with us and learn a little bit about these events. And we hope to see a stewardship event at your site in the upcoming weeks.
Yes. I know we ended this a little bit short, but usually we want to make sure we have enough time for you guys to have questions, and it's a good sign that you don't. maybe we're being very clear, Rebecca, and we're doing our job, and you guys have everything you need to register and host a successful event for Fish and Wildlife Day. But as Rebecca said, please reach out if you have any question about eligibility for projects or why you should spend your time hosting an event, because we can give you a million other reasons if this wasn't a sell enough. So, but I don't see any questions. So thank you all so much. You can have the rest of your lunch hour back, and this will be recorded. We will follow up with you in the upcoming days. We'll send this around for anyone else who you think might need this information, or if you just need a refresher. And we are always here for any questions. But thank you very much.
Thank you.